So obviously Colin Kaepernick isn't the first celebrity to fall for Mumia Abu-Jamal. Many celebrities going back decades have been calling for his release. What do you make of this convicted cop killer getting so much public support?
This has been the radicals' go-to, every so often. I've actually met Maureen Faulkner, Officer Daniel Faulkner's widow, back in the late '90s during a charity run in Philadelphia. Here's a case that's been appealed over a dozen times, all the way up into the U.S. Supreme Court. Every court in Pennsylvania, every court in the nation has looked at this case, and they did stay his death sentence, but convicted him to life in prison. But this is their go-to every once in a while. And Colin Kaepernick, who's just the charlatan of advocacy now for the Black Lives Matter and the anti-police movement, this is just this new thing to grasp onto because the NFL's failing with the lowest viewership in a decade because of his actions. So this is just his new thing that he grasps onto.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned the widow, Maureen Faulkner, because when I listened to her, she has been so traumatized. She was only 24 years old when this shooting happened, when her young husband was killed in the line of duty. Truly, he was executed, according to the witnesses who say that they saw that Mumia Abu-Jamal was standing over the cop's body. After he had shot at the cop already 4 times, the cop was able to get, one shot back at Mumia Abu-Jamal. He then stands over the officer's body and then shoots him and executes him. When I listen to the widow and I read her interviews, I mean, she's still heartbroken about this so many decades later. And, when you see Colin Kaepernick, he thinks this is some media publicity stunt. But real lives here have been traumatized and have been hurt by this case.
Yeah, no doubt. For decades, Maureen Faulkner has stood by her late husband, and it just goes to show the effect that when a loved one is taken from you in such a manner, that there is no end to that. Colin Kaepernick, if you look at him, he's a businessman. He graduated college with a 4.0 business degree. He's not stupid when it comes to this decision, and all he's doing is rebranding himself. When he couldn't rebrand himself as a quarterback because of the abuse his body took, after several years as a running quarterback, instead of going in a direction to help his career or do something, he latched on to what was there, and what was popular at the moment was the anti-police movement. So yeah, let's wear pig socks and kneel during the national anthem to gain attention. And like I said, now that the NFL is just not there for that kind of attention, because their viewership is at an all-time low, he's latching on to something else. And what bigger firebrand than the Free Mumia movement? And that's all he's doing here.
And when it comes to this Free Mumia movement, what exactly is their case? That he was framed, that this was a racial case? What is their case?
Well, if you look at their appeals, their case changes time and time again. First, it was there was not enough diversity on the jury pool. Then it was the witnesses were lying. Then it's the ever-changing cycle of whatever they can grab onto to try and change the outcome of this case. And like I said, over a dozen courts in this nation have looked at this case. And here's a murderer who is serving life in prison, who should have had the death penalty, as far as I'm concerned. But he should never breathe a day of fresh air in this life again.